Hello friends, Jackson here, and welcome back to the channel. If your cucumber plants look healthy, but your harvest is disappointing, if the vines are growing like crazy, but the fruits are few, small, bitter, misshapen, or suddenly stop coming, then listen carefully, because what I'm about to share can change your entire cucumber season. Most gardeners think cucumbers are difficult because they believe they need some secret fertilizer, some rare seed, or some complicated trick. But the truth is much simpler than that. Cucumbers are not usually failing because of one big mistake. They fail because of a few small mistakes that almost everybody makes without realizing it. And once those mistakes are corrected, cucumber plants can become some of the most productive plants in the entire garden. In fact, when cucumbers are grown the right way, they can produce so fast it almost feels unreal. One day you see a tiny fruit, the next day it looks ready to pick, and if you wait too long, the plant starts slowing down, and your production begins to collapse. That is why today's topic is so important. Do this now for abundant cucumbers. It's like magic. And no, I'm not talking about magic powder, miracle chemicals, or internet nonsense. I'm talking about understanding how cucumber plants think, how they grow, what makes them produce heavily, and what causes them to shut down. Once you understand that, everything gets easier. Today I'm going to walk you through the most important things you need to do right now if you want abundant cucumbers. The simple actions that trigger more flowers, better fruit set, longer harvests, healthier vines, and bigger yields. If you apply these steps, you can turn weak cucumber production into non-stop harvests. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to do right now for abundant cucumbers is pick them more often than you think you need to. This is the number one mistake that ruins cucumber production, and it happens constantly. Gardeners wait too long. They think, I'll let that one get just a little bigger, or I'll harvest tomorrow, or I'll check this weekend, and by doing that, they accidentally tell the plant to slow down. Cucumber plants are extremely fast growers. They do not operate on a relaxed schedule. They are aggressive, rapid, and highly responsive. When a cucumber fruit is left on the vine too long, especially until it becomes oversized, yellowish, tough, or full of mature seed, the plant begins to think its job is complete. And once the plant thinks it has successfully matured fruit and seed, it starts pulling energy away from making more cucumbers. That is why frequent harvest is not just about collecting food. Frequent harvest is a production signal. It tells the cucumber plant, keep going, make more. You are not finished yet. The more consistently you harvest, the more consistently the plant produces. If you want abundant cucumbers, you cannot be casual about harvest. You need to check the plants daily if possible, or at minimum every other day during peak production. Cucumbers can go from perfect to overgrown very quickly. A fruit that looked small yesterday can be too big tomorrow. That is how fast they move. And the biggest problem is that cucumbers love to hide. They tuck behind leaves, hang under vines, blend into the foliage, and escape your attention. Then suddenly one fruit gets missed. It becomes oversized, starts turning pale or yellow. The seeds mature, and the plant begins to shift gears. Productivity drops, and you wonder what happened. So if you want the magic effect, start here. Harvest aggressively, harvest early, harvest often. Pick cucumbers when they are young, tender, and at the ideal size for the variety. Do not wait for them to become giant. Bigger is not better with cucumbers. Better is better. And once you start doing this consistently, you will notice something amazing. The plant responds. More female flowers appear. More fruits begin to form. New growth looks stronger. Production speeds up. It feels like the vine is rewarding you for paying attention, and in a way, it is. Now the second thing you need to do right now is stop treating cucumbers like they can survive on neglect. A lot of gardeners plant cucumbers, water them sometimes, toss on a little fertilizer once in a while, and expect heavy production all season. That almost never works well, because cucumbers are heavy feeders and heavy drinkers. They grow fast, and fast growth requires steady resources. Think about what a cucumber plant is doing during its productive stage. It is pushing out long vines, large leaves, flowers, and fruit all at once. That takes energy, that takes nutrients, that takes water. If any of those are inconsistent, the plant becomes stressed, and stressed cucumber plants do not produce well. If your watering is all over the place, your cucumbers may become bitter, misshapen, or slow. If the soil swings between dry and soaked, the plant can abort flowers, stall fruit growth, or become more vulnerable to disease. If nutrient levels are weak, the vine may stay alive, but it will not have the strength to keep pumping out healthy fruit. So what should you do? First, keep the moisture consistent, not constantly waterlogged, but consistently moist. Cucumbers do best when the root zone does not experience wild extremes. Deep watering is far better than shallow sprinkling. You want the roots to go down, not stay at the surface. Water enough to penetrate the soil well, then let the top begin to dry slightly before watering again. In hot weather, this may mean watering frequently, especially for container-grown cucumbers. Second, mulch your cucumber plants. This is one of the easiest upgrades you can make. Mulch helps retain soil moisture, reduce temperature swings, suppress weeds, and keep the roots more comfortable. When roots stay cool and evenly moist, production improves. Straw, shredded leaves, compost, or another clean organic mulch can make a big difference. Third, feed them on a schedule. Do not wait until the plant looks hungry. By that point, it is already behind. Cucumbers need regular nutrition during active growth and fruiting. A balanced feeding program works much better than random feeding. You can use organic granular fertilizer, compost, fish emulsion, water-soluble feed, or whatever system fits your garden style. But the important part is consistency. If you feed lightly but regularly, your cucumber plants stay in production mode. If you starve them and then dump in food once in a while, production becomes uneven. Heavy harvest plants need steady support. That brings me to the third thing you need to do right now if you want abundant cucumbers. Grow the right type of cucumber for reliable production. This point is huge, and many gardeners never think about it. They choose cucumber seeds based only on appearance or description, but variety selection can completely change your results. Some cucumber varieties depend heavily on pollination. They produce male and female flowers separately, and pollen has to move correctly for fruit to set well. If pollinator activity is low, if weather is bad, or if your garden environment is not ideal, production suffers. Flowers may appear, but fruits may fail, become misshapen, or drop. That is why, if you want maximum reliability, especially for heavy production, greenhouse growing, protected growing, or areas with inconsistent pollinator activity, you should strongly consider parthenocarpic and gynoecious cucumber varieties. These are game changers. Gynoecious varieties produce mostly or only female flowers, which means more of the flowers have the potential to become fruit. Parthenocarpic varieties can set fruit without pollination, which means you are not depending so heavily on bees or perfect pollination conditions to get a harvest. That combination can dramatically improve productivity. Now, this does not mean traditional cucumbers are bad. Plenty of gardeners grow them successfully. But if your goal is abundant cucumbers and fewer production problems, choosing the right genetics gives you a major advantage before the season even begins. When you stack good genetics on top of proper harvest, consistent feeding, and smart plant care, results improve fast. And let me say this clearly, the magic most people are looking for is often not one miracle input, it is a system, and variety choice is one piece of that system. Now let's talk about another reason cucumber production collapses: overcrowding and bad airflow. Cucumbers are vigorous plants. They can absolutely explode in growth, and while that sounds good, it can become a problem when the vines are jammed into a crowded space with poor airflow, tangled stems, trapped humidity, and hidden fruit. In that kind of environment, harvesting becomes harder, disease spreads faster, leaves stay wet longer, pests are easier to miss, and cucumbers get lost in the jungle. A crowded cucumber patch may look lush, but lush is not always productive. If the vines are so dense you can barely reach inside, you are going to miss fruits. If leaves are packed together, powdery mildew and other issues can spread more easily. If air cannot move, the plant environment becomes stressful, especially in heat and humidity. So what should you do? Give cucumbers enough space for the variety. If you are growing vining types, trellis them whenever possible. Vertical growing improves airflow, keeps fruit cleaner, makes harvest easier, helps you spot problems sooner, and often leads to straighter cucumbers. It also makes better use of garden space. When you grow cucumbers on the ground, they can still produce well, but management becomes harder. Fruits hide more easily, leaves overlap heavily, moisture stays trapped, disease pressure can increase. For many gardeners, vertical growing is one of the easiest ways to improve results without adding more plants. And if you do interplant cucumbers with other crops, be careful, it can be done, but do not create a wall of vegetation that you cannot manage. Tomatoes, beans, squash, flowers, and cucumbers all growing in one crowded mass may look beautiful, but beauty does not always equal harvest efficiency. The easier your cucumbers are to see, reach, and pick, the more productive your plants will usually be. Now here is the fourth thing you need to do right now for abundant cucumbers. Protect the plants from temperature stress. Cucumbers love warmth, but there is a difference between warm and extreme. They like stable, growing weather. When temperatures swing too low or too high, the plant gets stressed, flowers may abort, fruit set may decline, and growth can slow down. Cold nights can shock them. Extreme heat can stall them. High humidity combined with intense sun can push them into survival mode. And a cucumber plant in survival mode is not focused on giving you an abundant harvest. This is why timing matters. Planting too early into cold soil can set cucumbers back before they even begin. Waiting for genuinely warm conditions gives them a much stronger start. Warm soil helps the roots establish quickly, and strong roots support heavy production later. But temperature stress is not just an early season issue. In many places, summer heat becomes the real challenge. When the heat becomes excessive, especially with brutal afternoon sun, some cucumber plants struggle. Flowers can dry up, young fruits may stop developing, leaves can droop and become more vulnerable. That is where small adjustments can help a lot. Afternoon shade in very hot climates can improve performance. Shade cloth can reduce stress. Mulch helps cool the root zone. Consistent watering supports the plant during hot spells. And choosing heat-tolerant varieties can also make a big difference. The goal is not to baby the plant. The goal is to remove unnecessary stress so the plant can stay focused on growth and fruiting. Now let's get into one of the most important mindset shifts for long cucumber harvests. And this is the fifth thing you need to do right now. Stop trying to force the same old cucumber vines to carry the whole season. This is such a common mistake. Gardeners sometimes treat cucumbers like indeterminate tomatoes. They think one planting will keep producing at full strength for months and months if they just keep watering and feeding it. But cucumbers are not built like that. They grow fast, produce fast, and often decline faster than people expect. Even when you do everything right, cucumber vines eventually age, pests show up, disease pressure builds, weather stress accumulates, harvest intensity wears the plant down. At some point, the vine begins to lose momentum. This is normal. So instead of trying to drag one tired planting through the whole season, the smart move is succession planting. That means you plant new cucumbers every few weeks, so a fresh wave is always coming behind the older one. When the first planting begins to slow down, the second one starts producing. When the second planting matures, a third one may be ready. This is how you extend the season and maintain abundance. It is one of the best tricks for non-stop cucumber harvests, and it feels almost magical because it solves so many problems at once. You do not panic when the first vines get sick. You do not feel like the season is ending just because one patch declines. You already have the next generation coming. Fresh plants are often healthier, more vigorous, and more productive than exhausted old ones. And if you plant them in a different part of the garden, you may also reduce repeated pest and disease pressure. If you want abundant cucumbers for a longer period, do not put all your hopes into one planting date. Stagger your crop. Give yourself backups. That is how experienced growers keep the harvest going. Now the sixth thing you need to do right now is take pest and disease prevention seriously before the problem gets big. Many cucumber failures do not start with dramatic collapse. They start quietly. A few holes in leaves, a little yellowing, some wilt, a few flowers that fail, one or two weak-looking vines. Gardeners ignore those signals, and then suddenly the whole planting seems to crash. Cucumbers can decline quickly once trouble starts. Common pests like cucumber beetles, aphids, spider mites, and other sap-sucking or chewing insects weaken the plant, spread disease, and reduce productivity. Diseases like powdery mildew, downy mildew, bacterial wilt, and other fungal or bacterial problems can also hit hard. The solution is not panic. The solution is observation. Check your cucumber plants often. Look under the leaves. Watch for chewing damage, discoloration, sticky residue, leaf spots, curling and wilting. Early action is everything. A small pest issue is manageable. A major outbreak is exhausting. Good airflow helps. Proper spacing helps. Trellising helps. Watering at the base instead of constantly soaking the foliage helps. Removing badly infected leaves can help. Keeping plants well fed, but not overstimulated with too much nitrogen helps. And in some cases, using appropriate organic or conventional controls early can protect the crop far better than waiting. Healthy plants are always more resilient than stressed plants. That is why every step in this video connects to the others. Harvesting properly, watering consistently, feeding regularly, spacing correctly, and succession planting all reduce the odds of losing your whole cucumber season. Now here is the 7th thing you need to do right now for abundant cucumbers. Improve pollinator support, even if you are growing high-performing varieties. Yes, parthenocarpic varieties reduce the need for pollination, and yes, that is a huge advantage. But if you are growing traditional cucumbers, pickling cucumbers, mixed varieties, or other cucurbit crops like melons and squash nearby, pollinator activity still matters a lot. A garden that attracts bees and beneficial insects is a stronger garden overall. So plant flowers. Keep blooms around the garden. Avoid spraying during peak pollinator activity when possible. Create a space where pollinators want to work. More pollinator activity usually means better fruit set across the garden. And if you ever notice flowers appearing but fruits not developing properly, poor pollination may be part of the problem. In that case, hand pollination can help. It is simple, effective, and sometimes very useful during difficult weather or low bee activity. But again, the smartest move is to reduce your dependence on perfect conditions whenever possible. That is why choosing productive, reliable cucumber genetics is such a powerful decision. Now let's talk about a hidden reason many cucumber plants underperform: harvesting too late in the day, or not monitoring growth close enough. This sounds minor, but it matters. When cucumbers are growing fast, a one-day delay can change everything. A fruit that was perfectly sized this morning may be borderline oversized tomorrow afternoon. During peak heat and active growth, things move quickly. That is why routine matters so much. Create a cucumber habit. Walk the vines regularly, touch the leaves, check under the canopy, look at the nodes, watch the new fruit, notice the flowers. Don't make cucumbers an afterthought. If you do, they can outrun you. The gardeners who get abundant cucumbers are usually not the ones using the fanciest products. They are the ones paying close attention. They notice the small things before they become big things. They understand timing. They harvest with discipline. They stay ahead. That is what creates abundance. Now here is another powerful thing you need to do right now. Encourage strong root health. Everything above ground depends on what is happening below ground. If roots are stressed, compacted, overheated, sitting in poor soil, or constantly drying out, the plant will never perform at its best. You might still get some cucumbers, but not the heavy repeat harvests you are hoping for. Cucumbers prefer rich, loose, well-drained soil with plenty of organic matter. They want roots that can spread, breathe, and absorb. They do not want to fight hard, compacted ground. They do not want to sit in standing water. They do not want to bake in dry, lifeless soil. Adding compost before planting helps tremendously. Mulching helps protect the root zone. Avoiding root disturbance once the plant is established also helps. Gentle, consistent care at the soil level often translates directly into stronger vines and more fruit. If you are growing in containers or grow bags, root health becomes even more important because containers dry out faster and nutrients wash out faster. In containers, your margin for error is smaller, but the upside is control. You control the mix, the water, the feed, the placement, and the support. And when done right, container cucumbers can be extremely productive. Now I want to give you a practical abundance formula. If you want that it's like magic cucumber effect, here is the system in simple language. Pick early and often. Keep the soil consistently moist. Feed regularly. Mulch the roots. Trellis the vines. Choose productive varieties. Avoid overcrowding. Watch for pests early. Protect the plants from temperature extremes. And succession plant so new vines are always coming. That is the real secret. It is not one trick. It is stacking the right actions together until production explodes. And when that happens, cucumbers go from frustrating to ridiculous. Suddenly you are checking the vines and finding fruit everywhere. You harvest today, and a couple of days later, there is another armful waiting. You start giving them away, pickling them, slicing them, sharing them, and wondering how the plants became so productive. That is what cucumbers can do when the system is right. Now let me say something important. If your cucumber plants are currently struggling, do not assume the season is lost. Very often, 1 or 2 changes made right now can still dramatically improve production. Start harvesting more aggressively. Start watering more consistently. Feed them on schedule. Remove oversized fruit immediately. Open up crowded growth. Watch for pests. Start new seeds for the next round. Do not wait for the perfect reset. Improve the system now. That is how gardeners turn weak seasons around. And if your cucumbers are already producing a little, that is even better. It means the potential is there. Your job is to remove the bottlenecks. Every time you solve one bottleneck, production improves. Missed harvest is a bottleneck. Dry roots are a bottleneck. Low fertility is a bottleneck. Bad genetics are a bottleneck. Overcrowding is a bottleneck. No succession planting is a bottleneck. Once those bottlenecks are cleared, cucumber plants often respond very quickly. So if you came into this video looking for one magical product, I hope you leave with something much better, a reliable blueprint. Because real abundance in the garden does not come from hype. It comes from understanding the plant and giving it exactly what it needs at the right time. Cucumbers want to produce. They really do. They are naturally vigorous, generous plants, but they only stay generous when we manage them correctly. If we let fruits stay too long, they slow down. If we let them dry out, they suffer. If we crowd them, stress them, starve them, or ignore them, they respond with poor harvests. But if we stay on top of them, they reward us in a huge way. So do this now. Go check your cucumber vines. Pick every fruit that is ready. Remove any oversized cucumbers immediately. Water deeply if the soil is dry. Feed the plants if they are due. Mulch if the roots are exposed. Trellis and untangle if the vines are becoming a mess. Inspect for pests and leaf disease, and plant the next round if you want a long season of harvests. Do those things, and I promise your cucumbers will have a much better chance of becoming abundant. It may not feel magical because the steps are simple, but when the harvest starts pouring in, it absolutely looks like magic. And that is the beauty of gardening. The biggest results often come from simple habits repeated consistently. So remember this, abundant cucumbers are not luck. They are management. Pick hard, feed well, water consistently, grow smart varieties, protect the roots, replace old vines, stay ahead. That is how you win with cucumbers. Hello again, friends, Jackson here, and before I wrap up, let me leave you with one final thought. Don't get discouraged if cucumbers have disappointed you in the past. Almost every gardener struggles with them at some point. They can be incredibly generous, but they demand attention. Once you learn their rhythm, once you understand what they are trying to do, they become much easier to manage. And once you get that rhythm right, you may end up with more cucumbers than you know what to do with. That's a good problem to have. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you stay with me for more practical gardening content that actually helps you grow better. And if you apply these steps, I'd love for you to come back and tell me how your cucumber harvest changes. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, friends.